One chunk in Minecraft is 16 blocks by 16 blocks. I'm not going to waste time with some stupid video intro, let's just get straight to work. I started out by punching this tree with my fist until I had enough to make oak planks, which of course allowed me to make a crafting table. With my newly made crafting table, I made myself a wooden pickaxe so that I could get myself some stone. I also quickly realized that this chunk didn't have much in terms of food. I mean, I could kill a chicken, but then there'd be no more chickens. So I ran around gathering as many seeds as I could so that I could 1. Breed more chickens, and 2. Make myself a wheat farm. I then returned to the tree I had chopped down so that I could claim all of the saplings that were dropping. I needed an easy, infinite amount of wood. Luckily, I ended up with 7 saplings, which I would say is good luck, but I'm pretty sure that you get the same amount of saplings from this tree no matter what. This world has been carefully crafted to allow for someone to somewhat easily beat the game, which is also why it is already raining on our very first day of the challenge. After grabbing some copper, iron, and any coal that I could find, I returned to the surface where I made a furnace, so that I could smelt the ores, make torches, light up my area, and make armor. I ended up making a copper chestplate and iron leggings. Sadly, I then watched one of my chickens push its baby chick off the ledge into the void, which was not good news for my food supply. As much fun as the darkness was, I decided that a bed would be a better route. I crafted one and went to sleep to skip the rest of my first night. The next day I finished making my armor. It was just copper, and in case you're wondering, no, copper armor does not make you more likely to be struck by lightning. I decided to return to mining and I ended up finding a lava pool. To celebrate such a find, I turned a poppy I had into red dye and dyed the sheep red. I don't really know why though. Shortly after that, I watched as another chicken walked itself right off the edge into the void. I figured the shape of this hill was confusing the chicken's pathfinding, so I dug it back a bit and then found my sole surviving chicken and put him in a box. The good news is, as long as I have one chicken, I can still get more chickens from his eggs. It just might take a while. The rest of the day was spent doing pretty typical Minecraft stuff. I wanted to flatten out as much of the chunk as I could. Without an even surface, I would have to jump a lot, which would deplete my hunger much quicker. And at the moment, I had absolutely zero food. I used a bucket to make an infinite water source lower down on the island so that I could eventually get rid of this lake up here. And then it was back to flattening out the chunk, which from now on I will occasionally refer to as the island. Flattening out was important so that I wouldn't waste any hunger, but it was also super important to have blocks to expand my island outward. Just because the chunk is 16 by 16 blocks doesn't mean it's the only area I'll occupy during this entire challenge. By the end of the second night, I had harvested my first wheat plant, which one wheat alone isn't going to do much for me, but it also allowed me to plant 2 additional seeds, and progress is progress, no matter how small. Speaking of progress, I decided that it was time to build a nether portal so that I could, well, go to the nether. I used the bucket I crafted earlier to manipulate lava and water blocks in the correct way to make obsidian blocks, and then I just had to light the thing. My original plan was to put a piece of wood next to the portal, with a thing of lava next to the wood. Once the wood catches on fire, the portal would light. At least that's what I thought was going to happen. The pieces of wood never ended up catching on fire. Fortunately, the portal still lit somehow. I'm not gonna question it, I'm just happy that I get to go to the nether now. And welcome to the nether. Turns out that the nether is also just 16 by 16 blocks big, and also happens to be in a warped forest. A warped forest is convenient because only Endermen can spawn here, but it's also mildly inconvenient because only Endermen can spawn here. When I returned to the overworld, I decided to go mining for more iron. I used a water column to get down to what looked like a good cave. However, there was a baby zombie in this cave, and it almost killed me. Luckily, everything turned out okay and I finished another day without dying, which is good, because in case you didn't notice, this is in hardcore. I saw a zombie pigman that morning, which was really interesting. While zombie pigmen can't spawn in a warped forest, the nether portal alone can cause them to spawn in the overworld. Now, to effectively complete this challenge of beating Minecraft with only one chunk, I will eventually need to get gold. So, after waiting for him to be in a spot I wouldn't knock him straight into the void, I gave him a nice tap with a fistful of cobblestone, and then finished the job with my axe. I ended up getting 1 golden sword and 1 gold nugget, which isn't a lot, but again, progress is progress. The reason I say this isn't much is because in total, I would need 144 golden nuggets. Rather than killing zombie pigmen for them, I figured I'd probably have a better chance at finding large amounts of gold in the nether, so back to the nether I went. The first thing I tried was going over to the edge, going into third-person POV, and seeing if I could spot any gold on the chunk borders. Unfortunately, I didn't see any on any sides of the nether island. I also tried looking at what was just exposed on the surface to me, but unfortunately, same as before, I didn't see any. With a pickaxe at only half health, I decided I needed to go back to the overworld to get another before I started mining. When I returned to the overworld, I found myself over 100 blocks away from the main island. The reason for this has to do with how I set this world up. I centered a corner of the chunk at 0,0 because it wasn't originally there, but I forgot to center the nether chunk at 0,0 as well. The weirdest part about this is I had already come back from the nether once and it didn't do this, so I'm not exactly sure why it chose to give me the problems now of all times, but to fix it, I went back to the nether and started mining more blocks. When I got back, I finally had enough wheat to craft my first piece of bread, which unfortunately did not feed me enough to heal me, so 7 hearts will just have to do for now. Later that night, I was welcomed with a surprise visit from a wandering trader. More than anything else, I wanted new wood types, although without emeralds, I wouldn't have been able to buy any of them anyways. Luckily, this wandering trader did have the option for me to sell him milk for 2 emeralds, so that's how I earned my first 2 emeralds. Looking back, this probably wasn't worth it, but at the time I thought it was a good deal. Oh well, we live and we learn. I thought it could be smart to sell him even more buckets of milk, so I went down to the caves to hopefully find some more iron again. After nearly being blown up by a creeper, I probably should have taken it as my sign that the milk buckets were not worth it, but I kept going deeper anyways. And that's how I almost lost my world. Luckily, when I got back to the surface, there were some apples that had fallen from the oak trees, which, fact check, oh, yep, apples do grow on oak trees. Okay, I guess you learn something new every day. After the apples, I also continued tending to my wheat farm so that I could one day rely on it as a steady source of food. The next day, I made another bucket, with which I made another poor investment. Now you're probably thinking, at least you bought that sulfur spike from him, right?
Right.
If it makes you feel any better, I did get another apple after this, which meant I was finally full enough to heal beyond half health. I then decided it was time for a cobblestone generator, which was stupid not only because I had loads of cobblestone in the ground, but also because I accidentally made an obsidian generator, and not a very efficient one. So I tried again, and hey, do I need this? No. But it does give me a much safer way of getting cobblestone, at least until I have a better way to heal. I started smelting the cobblestone into normal stone because I wanted to make stone bricks. I figured that with such limited items, a build made out of stone bricks would be one of the best I could do. So, with my building block selected, I started expanding my platform. I went 16 blocks out from my original chunk in each direction. If I was going to make this platform work, I was going to need a lot of materials. Cobblestone was obvious, since that's essentially what the platform was made out of, but I also had to regularly chop wood, both to make new tools and to use as fuel to smelt the cobblestone. I decided that a hexagon pattern would look cool as the outline. I don't know if this idea came from the castle that I built in my survival series, or from watching WandaVision during filming of this video, but either way, I think it was a good plan. Almost as good of a plan as breeding more cows. That's right everybody, I officially had enough wheat that I felt safe giving some to my cows rather than using it on bread for myself. And then it was back to mining. I hope you guys realize that I'm obviously not going to show every single block I mine, and although it might not look like a ton mined out, with stone tools some of this stuff took hours to complete. It was so worth it watching my platform come together though. I would go back and forth between mining and building so that I didn't have any sections of me building large parts of the platform, but I think it worked well this way. I didn't get burnt out doing the same task for too long. I decided that I should keep my animals in an actual pen rather than a 2 cubic meter hole in the ground, so I made some nice little fenced in areas for them to stay in. I continued to have terrible luck with my chickens, but overall everything looked much better. And then it was time to terraform the rest of the island. My wife recently gave birth to our firstborn child on July 1st, 7-1, so I decided that the entire island Y level should be at 71. Anything above Y71 would be there because I placed it, not because it naturally generated in the world. And just like that, it was all done, other than the stupid obsidian block which will unfortunately be there for a while. Stupid egg, even stupider egg. I replaced the top layer of blocks on the island with dirt, both so that the pens would look better and so that I could grow more wheat. I also used a lava bucket to smelt a stack of cobblestone, but realized soon after this probably wouldn't be worth it, at least not until I got a renewable source of lava. And then it was more platform building. It was seriously so satisfying to expand the platform. Each block I placed down meant one more place I could stand without falling into the void. And when your world looks like this, that feeling is very much wanted. Now that the entire island was at Y71, I needed a new cobblestone generator. Unfortunately, I had just used my only lava bucket, which meant I would need to go back underground to get more. Underground would have to find a different route. When I finally got to the lava pool, I found that nearly the entire thing had been turned into obsidian. I guess I had placed a water bucket at some point and it had trickled down into the cave and ruined all of my lava. More stupid eggs. And here's the progress on the wheat farm. It's finally starting to look pretty good. But of course, just as something starts to look promising, something else starts to look a little less promising. I returned to the Nether again just to see what I could see and ended up killing another pigman. Remember, it's the portal that allows these guys to spawn, because it should be impossible for these guys to spawn in this biome. And as you can see here, the pigmen encouraged me to go mining for more gold. Lo and behold, I found it. You guys have to realize that at this point in the recording, I didn't know that pigmen couldn't spawn here, so I started expanding the Nether platform to allow for more pigmen to spawn. I figured with more area for them to spawn on, that we'd get more of them to spawn. And then I was planning to kill all of them to get a bunch of gold. Unsurprisingly, this plan didn't work, but these platforms would come back to help us later, so not completely pointless. More stupid eggs, and more stupid eggs. I then took a page out of the eggs book and decided to be stupid myself. Rather than run straight for water, I tried to stop the spread of this lava first. It's not like this was a really stupid plan, but looking back, this almost cost me my entire world. I'm so glad that it didn't, but yeah, that was a close one. Here's another update on the wheat field. There's finally more wheat growing than I need, which means I finally get to feed the cows and sheep again. Well, technically we had already fed the cows a few times before, but this was the first time that I was feeding the sheep. And with a red sheep and a white sheep as its parents, we got a baby pink sheep. At this moment, I made a goal to get as many colors of wool as I possibly could before day 100. I also made a goal to hatch a chicken from an egg, but clearly that wasn't happening anytime soon. Just after failing to get another chicken, I found my second Enderman. To make sure he didn't fall off the edge, I dug in a few blocks so that I could make sure that I could actually get his drops when he died. Sure enough, this worked pretty perfectly, and I got another ender pearl. But then the bad luck came right back as a creeper came over to me and blew up half of my wheat farm. And then the chickens decide to laugh at me yet another time. In case you're wondering, I've thrown 21 eggs. The odds of throwing 21 eggs and not getting a chicken from one is less than a 6% chance. Very unlucky. Almost as unlucky as getting blown up down to 1 heart and almost falling into the void, because the lighting in your world gets messed up. First, we have a near-death experience at 2 hearts, then at 1.5 hearts, and now at 1 heart. If I keep this trend up, I'll lose this world before day 50. To make room for more wheat on the top floor, I decided to move my cows and sheep down a layer. I'd love to say that I also moved my chickens down a floor, but chickens is plural, and currently I only have chicken. While the eggs may be frustrating, overall I think the world is coming along great. I'm super excited to see what I can do with this by the end of 100 days. But I had been playing for a little while at this point and needed to take a break. When I got on the next day, I decided to start a live stream, and I'll just let you guys listen to how that went. Yes! You guys don't understand! You guys don't understand! Oh my goodness. What are the odds of what just happened? People who think they know Minecraft are like, it's a 1 in 8% chance, or 1 in 8 chance, it's a 12.5% chance. You guys don't understand. Where was I looking this up? The odds of not getting it after 24 throws was only a 4% chance. The odds of it not happening 24 times and then getting it on your 5th time is a 3.55% chance. By no means was this an anomaly, but it is pretty rotten luck that it took us that long just to get a chicken. Now that I was looking pretty set on food, I decided it was time to make a mob farm. I made the bridge going out to the mob farm at Y level 70.5. There are 2 main reasons for this. 1, this will prevent things from spawning on the bridge. And 2, one of my most loyal subscribers, Silly Little Goober, was born on 7/05. So shout out to her. Go Canada and whatnot, I guess. I don't know. I'm not going to show the entire mob farm being built because that's a waste of time. And it's also not my original design. But I figured this would be a good time to give a shout out to my channel members. I want to give a shout out to Stitch Fan, Jonathan S, Louis Bloxian, Noel, Rafunhol, or Rafunjal, I honestly don't know how to pronounce half of your guys' names. Yours truly, McDonald's Man 424. An extra big shout out to Flight Decks, who gifted some of these guys their memberships. And a huge shout out to Memories. Memories is the first person to ever have donated to me on YouTube, and I will never forget you. Me 272 something, I actually already forgot. He changed his name, it used to be me, but huge shout out to him. If you guys would like to join the channel as a member, it only costs $2 a month and it really helps me out. Thank you to all of my members, and also thank you to all of my subscribers. You guys make it all the more worth it. And with that, let's get back to the main point of the video. Here we are, the mob farm is all done. I don't have enough iron to make hoppers yet, so I had to adjust the farm to allow me to manually pick up the mob drops. But overall, it's looking really good. Now all I have to do is wait for a zombie villager to spawn. And 12 levels later, once I finally got a zombie villager to spawn in, I had to do a little more prep to actually make it work. So the first thing I did was close off the farm higher up so that no more mobs would drop down next to the zombie villager. Then I killed all of the remaining mobs in the bottom of the chute that weren't the zombie villager. To make sure he wouldn't burn up during the day, I made him a shade covering made out of dirt blocks. I then placed a boat to keep him comfortable. I let him out of the farm and guided him over to his boat. And to make sure that he didn't knock me into the void, I expanded the dirt platform outward by 1 more block. And then it was back to the mob farm to find a witch. Unfortunately, my positioning was a little bit off, and a creeper got me instead. Now, the mob farm being blown up wasn't that sad. What was really sad is that the creeper explosion had killed the zombie villager in the boat. And not only that, but another one had just spawned and I wasn't in a good position to save him before he burned up. So I fixed the mob farm, grinded another half hour, and finally got another zombie villager. I returned to the Nether because even if I found a witch, I wouldn't be able to cure the zombie villager without a golden apple. And I didn't quite have enough gold for a golden apple yet. Luckily, with a little mining in the Nether, and by smelting some golden armor I had gotten from the mob farm, I only needed one more gold nugget to make a golden apple. It took almost no time at all before a skeleton fell down through the chute wearing a full set of golden armor. He ended up dropping his boots. I smelted them into a gold nugget. I crafted those gold nuggets into gold ingots, and just like that, we had one golden apple. Let's go. It was just later that day that I ended up getting another zombie villager into a boat, and shortly after that I ended up getting a witch to fall into the farm as well. Now all I had to do was get the witch into the boat. The plan was to guide the witch into the boat, have it throw 2 potions, and then cure the zombie villager. I made a hallway for the witch to go in. The only path through was towards the boat. Once the witch was in the boat with the zombie villager, I waited for it to throw a poison potion at me. Once you're poisoned, if you are within 3 blocks of the witch, you have a 25% chance of the witch throwing a potion of weakness. Once the witch threw a potion of weakness at me, I gave the golden apple to the zombie villager, and then proceeded to book it out of there. All I had to do now was wait 5 minutes for the zombie villager to turn into a normal villager. My original plan was to go far away and wait for the witch to despawn, but I realized that the witch was never going to despawn because it was in the boat. So I returned, killed the witch, and then proceeded to wait for the zombie villager to turn into a villager. Unfortunately, the next hour and a half of footage was completely black. So I made this little animation to explain what happened. I hope you guys enjoy. So, in case it wasn't abundantly clear, I turned another zombie villager into a villager using the weakness potion and a golden apple. I built those 2 villagers a house, I fed them some bread, they had a baby, I did a little other stuff like farming, mining, just basic stuff like that. Next up, I decided that I wanted the shape of the island to be a circle instead of a hexagon. I didn't have enough dirt to make the circle too big, so a majority of the island will still be the stone brick hexagon. I think that the dirt will look really good though, especially because it will allow me to plant trees all around the outside of the island, which is going to be very important for the rest of this challenge. And here's how it's looking. The mob farm and nether portal make it a little ugly, but this is giving me lots of hope for day 100. I started harvesting my crops in hopes that they would give me emeralds. There were a few easy ways to get emeralds right now, and one of those is to sell wheat and carrots to a farmer villager. The other would be selling sticks to a Fletcher villager. Wheat would also be super important because it would allow me to breed even more villagers, which I didn't know it at this point in time, but that would be happening quite a bit going forward. I then placed and replaced a composter until I got the villager that trades wheat and carrots. I ended up with 16 emeralds from him. I also gave the villagers another bed in hopes that they would raise their numbers from 3 to 4. The next day, I turned a villager into a Fletcher villager, and on the first try, he offered me the stick trade. However, I realized that he was selling them for 32 sticks, which meant that he was not one of the cured zombie villagers. So, I kept placing the fletching table until I got the right villager to go to it. This way, I could sell 26 sticks for an emerald instead of 32. It might not seem like a big deal, but this will earn me quite a bit of time in the end. And then it was back to grinding for more wood. More wood meant more emeralds, which meant more stuff I could be able to eventually unlock. At nighttime, when there were little to no trees to cut down, I would return to the mob farm. This allowed me to get bone meal so that I could grow more trees faster. But it also allowed for mobs to spawn near the villager house. This was important because if a zombie spawned near the villager house, then it would wake up the villagers, causing an iron golem to spawn. I would then kill that iron golem for iron. I need a total of 5 iron to unlock the next villager trade. It wasn't a very effective iron farm, but it was enough to give me what I needed. Eventually, I got 5 iron and I was able to make myself a blast furnace. And with the blast furnace, I was able to turn one of my villagers into an armorer. At first, he just sold basic iron armor, which, while still an upgrade, wasn't really that useful. However, eventually he would offer me enchanted diamond armor, so it was definitely worth the investment. Just a little expensive, especially since I would never use half of what I was buying. Eventually, I got him upgraded to the level of expert, and he offered me Prot 2 pants and Blast Protection 1 boots. The Blast Protection isn't that excited, but I was super happy about the pants. They were a huge upgrade compared to what I was currently wearing. During the day, I continued trading sticks for emeralds, and at night, I continued to wait for iron golems to spawn. I set up this wall in between me and the villager house, so that if a zombie did spawn, it would target the villagers and not me. If the zombies target me, then iron golems wouldn't be any more likely to spawn. Eventually, I got enough emeralds to buy the chestplate and helmet from the armor. The chestplate had Prot 1, which is super nice, and the helmet had Respiration 1 and Unbreaking 2, which is nothing to complain about. And there we go. Full enchanted diamond armor without ever mining a single diamond. Now that I had full diamond armor, my next plan was to use a toolsmith to get diamond tools. To upgrade the toolsmith, he wanted to trade iron with me. So, I continued killing iron golems until I eventually unlocked the diamond hoe, a diamond shovel with Unbreaking 2, and a diamond pickaxe with Efficiency 2. With all of my diamond gear, I decided that it was time to make some real progress in this world. I headed back to the Nether in hopes of killing some blazes. The blaze spawner was pretty easy to locate as I only had to explore one chunk to find it. However, making sure that these guys didn't burn me to death was a little bit harder. I was constantly blocking off my path to them and eating food to make sure that I didn't get anywhere near dying. After 10 to 20 minutes in the Nether, I had all of the blaze rods necessary to craft the eyes of Ender that I would need to light the end portal. Now, I just needed Ender pearls. I expanded even more platforms coming out from the Nether island in hopes that Endermen would start spawning on the platforms. Somewhere in the middle of this, I also got enough iron to make an anvil. My original plan was to combine several pieces of enchanted diamond armor and diamond tools so that I could have the best armor and the best tools. But after realizing how close I was to level 100, and remembering that enchanting uses levels, I decided that it would be more fun to reach level 100. So, for now, the anvil is just going to be decoration. When I returned to the Nether, it took almost no time for Endermen to start spawning on the platforms I had made. I collected all of the Ender Pearls I would need for the portal. I also crafted 2 buckets so that I could water bucket clutch during the end fight if needed. This would be one of the best decisions I ever made. I then put the Eyes of Ender into the portal and quit. Like and subscribe if you guys enjoyed this video. Okay, obviously I'm joking. I then continued to the end fight.
Oh my goodness. Alright, how many levels do we get? Oh, we might make it.
And you get the point. I killed the dragon. I ended with 97 levels at the end of it, which was kind of sad that I didn't quite reach 100 levels, but overall still a win. We killed the dragon, we got the egg, and it actually turns out that when I went back through the portal, I found some XP, which got me up to 98.5 levels. So it only made sense that my next course of action was to feed some chickens and then grind the mob farm until I made it up to level 100. Now you're probably wondering, it's only day 52, you have full diamond gear, you've finished the island, what else is there to possibly do? Well, I'm glad you asked. You see, I plan to make this a 9-episode series, which means the next 48 days will be prepping for the 8 episodes to come after this one. If you want to watch those, definitely be sure to subscribe and keep an eye out for them. If you look down here, you'll see a bunch of grass, but none of the circles that surround my hexagon is grass. So I drew a line of dirt connecting the grass down there to the outside rim in hopes that one day it would all turn into grass. The next thing I wanted to do was to build my villagers an actual house since their current one was incomplete.
Oh wait, you know what else I realized? We can finally get rid of this piece of obsidian.
I wanted their new house to be complete with a floor, roof, windows, and most importantly, I wanted it to be centered on the original one chunk. After I had built up the walls of their new house, I started to destroy the last one, and you guys will not believe what happened.
I swear it just played Mary Had a Little Lamb.
To allow myself to come in and out of the house easily, but prevent the villagers from wandering out and possibly falling off the island, I put trapdoors in all of the doorways. I also considered putting actual doors on the house, but they stuck out too much and I decided I preferred how it looked without the doors. Once the house was complete, I started breeding villagers again. There were still lots of traits that I could unlock from these guys. Then, while I waited for the villager babies to grow up, I ran around putting water around the entire outside of the island. Sometime during the water placement, another wandering trader had shown up. Unfortunately, when I ran over to see what he would trade with me, he was nowhere to be seen.
Where's your owner?
And I was so confused because it was daytime, so he shouldn't be invisible, but he wasn't connected to his llamas, and so I just assumed that he had died.
He showed up and died.
Luckily, as I was chopping wood later, I found him just chilling by himself on the main island. I have no idea why he was over here or how he became detached from his llamas, but I'll take it. Especially because he had an offer for dark oak saplings, which would allow us to put more variety into the house build. He also offered me moss blocks, which I bought. I don't know if I'll actually ever use these, but I've got them now just in case. And once we find a renewable source of dirt, we'll have an infinite amount of moss. I went to trade some more sticks with my Fletcher villager, but didn't have enough for 4 saplings, so I spent the rest of the day chopping wood. I was able to plant 4 saplings that night, and after giving it some bone meal, I had my first dark oak tree. By the next morning, I had nearly a stack and a half of dark oak wood, as well as 7 dark oak saplings. I wouldn't be using dark oak wood too much, but it was really nice that I had them for whenever I did want to use them. Next to oak wood, it's arguably my favorite wood type, especially because it complements oak wood so well. The next night, I had yet another wandering trader show up. What are the odds of that? This guy was offering me spruce wood, which is exciting, but I'm going to be honest, we won't use this for the rest of this video. But at least for now, we have it. I then started working on the roof for my villagers. I wanted to do an outline of dark oak wood with regular wood in the middle. I also didn't want the roof to be too steep, so I used a combination of stairs and slabs to give it a slope closer to 30 degrees rather than 45 degrees. I also made the ceiling inside out of andesite, just because I wanted it to be a different color than the rest of the house. And I figured that I didn't really have any other purpose for the andesite anywhere else, so this is where I put it. And this is more or less what I ended up with. A small, simple house for a small, simple world. I also decided that I wanted to put windows in the house. However, if I were to put them in right now, then all of the chickens in the front yard would jump through the windows and then they'd be wandering all over my world. So I moved all of the chickens underground next to my other farm animals. And then I put in the windows. I purposely made the house nearly symmetrical, but not completely symmetrical. I feel like this makes it look a little bit more realistic. And here's footage of a terrible flyby just going around the house, just so that you guys can kind of see what it looks like. And then it was time to return to the end to find an elytra. Although I don't currently have a way to get fireworks yet, I figured that elytra would still be super good to have just in case I accidentally fall off of the edge. After searching for one for a while, I went into FreeCam, and it turns out that whoever made this world uploaded an end dimension without any end cities. I am a little sad that I don't get to get an elytra in this world, but at the same time, I'm actually kind of glad, because this makes me play the game in a way that I don't usually play it. So, it was back to the simple life. I moved my wheat farm 1 story below all of my farm animals so that I could continue to breed more sheep, cows, and villagers. I also started bone mealing the front yard of the house for 2 reasons. For one, I wanted to unlock different colors of wool. New flowers meant new colors of dye, which meant new colors of sheep, which meant new colors of wool, which meant a wider selection of building blocks. I don't really need other building blocks for this episode, but again, we're just prepping for stuff that could come in handy in future episodes. And the second reason that I wanted to do this is because I just wanted flowers in the front yard. I think it makes the house look even better.
Yeah, I think I like it.
When I tried to go to bed on the night of day 63, I received the message that there were monsters nearby. It turns out that I accidentally left just enough space for a creeper to spawn in the attic. It was actually pretty easy to kill, though it was a little scary. And then it was back to bed. We were officially on to day 64, which meant we now had 1 stack of days under our belt. I also returned to the mob farm so I could get more bone meal. I needed more bone blocks so I could finish the downstairs of the villager house. I used bone blocks as the walls just like before, but I had to use slabs as the ceiling. I technically didn't need a cobblestone ceiling, but I figured that this looked a lot better than dirt. On day 66, I hired another Fletcher villager because I was chopping down trees faster than I could replant them. This is because if you'll notice, I now have a diamond axe. I got him from upgrading yet another toolsmith. Day 67 was spent breeding more villagers, and then I also replaced my wheat farm with a place for my chickens to breed. Although this was a little bit of a mistake because I'd end up planting wheat here again anyways. On day 69, I got one of the most important villagers I could get for this entire challenge, the Mason. For those of you who don't know, when you get one of these guys upgrade to expert level, they offer you two choices of either terracotta or glazed terracotta. This alone adds 33 more options of building blocks to our collection. But if we get him upgrade to master level, then it also adds quartz blocks and quartz pillar. So a total of 35 new blocks. This probably doubles the number of blocks we currently have available. I'm not going to show myself trading with every Mason villager I get, but just realize that majority of the rest of this video was spent chopping wood, trading with Fletcher villagers for emeralds, breeding more Mason villagers, and then upgrading Mason villagers to expert levels in hopes of unlocking every single terracotta and glazed terracotta trade. And in case you're wondering, it takes 30 emeralds to upgrade a Mason villager from novice to expert level. As mentioned earlier, I put my chickens in the corner and made the rest of this level a wheat farm. This was done after I realized I still needed lots of wheat to breed Mason villagers. My original plan for the Masons was to put them into a brick pyramid on the main level of the island. This is because obviously Masons work with bricks, but also Minecraft originally had brick pyramids during its development stage. I decided I didn't really like how the pyramids looked though, and it was also too small to fit very Masons into it. So I decided to move the Masons down to their own level, just below the cows and sheep. I stuck with the brick theme as the walls just because I thought it was fitting. And I made the floor out of chiseled stone bricks because that's also one of the blocks that the Masons would trade. The end of day 76 was yet another great day as I was visited by another wandering trader. This one offered me jungle saplings, cactus, and small drip leaf. More things that weren't really necessary right now, but would be super nice to have in future episodes. I made some trades with my Fletchers to get the jungle saplings and cacti first. Shortly after that, however, I realized that I couldn't plant the cactus without sand, so hopefully we get some of that soon. I also planted my jungle sapling and bone mealed it, just to make sure that I was going to get a renewable source of jungle wood from many saplings. On day 77, I had what I thought was a big brain plan. Somehow, all of my other wandering traders had disappeared. I figured that they had just accidentally walked too close to the edge and floated off. So, if I brought this wandering trader into the villager house, then I would have him forever. This honestly wasn't the stupidest idea ever. The only fault in my logic here is wandering traders never refresh their inventory. So, while it is smart to keep him alive for now, keeping him around forever is kind of pointless. I also decided to buy the small drip leaf from this guy. Even if I couldn't think of any purpose for it, eventually I might find one. After buying the drip leaf from him, I tried to plant it next to some water, but realized that this wasn't going to work. At the time I figured that drip leaf was just another block that could only be planted on sand, but during the editing of this video, I learned that on dry land it can only be placed on clay blocks or moss blocks, and if it's placed underwater, then you can place it on dirt, coarse dirt, farmland, grass blocks, podzol, rooted dirt, mycelium, and mud. And here's more footage of me chopping down trees. Like I said, I was doing this basically every single day between days 70 and 100. I would go to the mob farm at night to grind bone meal, and then during the day I would bone meal saplings, chop wood, and sell sticks, just to get as many Mason villagers upgraded as I possibly could, because I wanted to get as many colors of terracotta and colored terracotta that I possibly could. On day 79, I decided to go check on the progress of my jungle sapling, and I happened to catch it grow right in front of me. It's really not that crazy that I happened to catch this on camera, but I still thought it was kind of fun and that I'd put it in the video. On day 80, I saw a chicken in my mob farm. This is actually really exciting because although it's been out for quite a while now, I've never been able to get the lava chicken music disc. I never realized that you have to kill the baby zombie on the chicken without killing the chicken itself if you want to get the disc, which is part of why I've never received one before. But now that I knew better, I was able to kill the baby zombie, spare the chicken, and just like that, I received my first ever lava chicken music disc. Now, we won't actually be able to listen to this in this video because I won't end up building a jukebox, but it's still exciting that I have one for when that day comes. In order to turn villagers into masons, you have to give them a grindstone. The recipe for a grindstone requires 1 iron. Originally, it was kinda hard to get these because my only good way of getting iron is through iron golems. But the more villagers I bred, the more that iron golems started showing up. So in the end, it actually turned out to be really easy to get iron whenever I wanted. I did other stuff like farming and organizing, but for the most part, it was just trading with masons. This one gave me brown and yellow terracotta, which if I was any less mature, I'd make some stupid joke about. On day 89, I had another wandering trader. The wandering trader of all wandering traders. If you can ignore the fact that this guy has some questionable practices with his llamas, this guy gave me both sugarcane and sand, which are both so important for this series. Sugarcane is super important because it allows us to make librarian villagers, which means we will soon be able to put mending on all of our diamond gear. And sand is super important because essentially what I want to do with this series is I want to make 9 different islands. And each one of these islands is going to be modeled after a different world in New Super Mario Bros. Wii. I originally was going to have to do the islands out of order, but now that I have sand, I can do World 2. And I'll probably be able to go straight from World 1 to World 9 in chronological order. So yeah, this is like super big to me. We had terrible luck with our chickens earlier, but I guess it's all forgiven because this wandering trader alone made up for that. I'm still not sure if that's how you should treat your pet llamas, but after the deal he just gave me, I think I can forgive it. It was around this time that I realized wandering traders never refresh their trades. So to save on space, I cleared some clutter from the villager house. I wish I had bought flowers from this guy before he died, but I didn't think about it until it was too late. I guess that's what I get for killing him. 10 days after my first ever chicken jockey, I found yet another chicken jockey sitting in my mob farm. But you know what's even crazier than 2 chicken jockeys in 10 days? I got another 2 chicken jockeys at the same time just 5 days later. I wasn't able to retrieve their discs thanks to a creeper blowing everything up, but it was still cool that I was able to get 2 of them to spawn in the exact same time. The mob farm was a little bit of a mess now. I was trying super hard not to let another creeper blow up, otherwise I would lose my lava chicken discs, but luckily after not too long the farm was back in order, and while I was missing a hopper, that would be pretty easy to replace. On day 96, I used an anvil to essentially mend some armor, and then I went around planting sugarcane. I've actually been planting sugarcane ever since I bought it. This is just the best clip I have where I'm planting more than just 3 or 4 of it at a time. On the night of day 98, I also added a pond to the front yard, just because I felt like it. And on day 99, I made an item frame, and then a compass. I used the compass to make a map. And boy oh boy, look at this map. This looks so stupid. I had high hopes that the map would look super sick and that I could put it on my wall. I'm still gonna hang it on the wall, but this seriously just looks ridiculous. It doesn't help that the stone bricks and cobblestone are the same color as the void. This just looks so bad. I continued trading with Mason villagers all the way up until the last minute in hopes that I could unlock more colors of terracotta. But this screenshot that I have from day 96 shows every color of each type that I ended up getting. So in the end, I ended up with 27 out of the 33 possible blocks that I could have unlocked. Not quite 100%, but by no means am I saddened by these results. These will be super nice to have when it comes to future builds. I harvested my wheat one last time, and then I fed my chickens one last time, just to remind myself of how far I had come. We started with 2 chickens, got up to 3, then dropped to 1. Remained at 1 for like a month, but here we are now. There's probably 300 chickens in here. It's awesome. And here we are on day 100. I am super happy with how this world turned out. This nether portal path is a little ugly, and I guess that the mob farm is too, but overall I really like what I've been able to do with this world. The water looks great. I guess we didn't even explore like half of the chunk, but that's okay. Up here is our Mason villager room. I'm super happy with how everything has turned out with them so far in this series. Everything I get from them will still cost emeralds, but at least the option to buy it is there, and so I'm super grateful for that. Above them is the sheep farm. I kind of gave up on getting every color of wool after I realized that I could get tons of colors of terracotta and glazed terracotta, but I'm sure I'll return to max out my sheep farm in one of the future episodes. Once again, the wheat farm and the chicken farm are looking great. I'm still not exactly sure what happened to the pigs at the very beginning of this world, but I guess 300 chickens makes up for the loss of 2 pigs. It's just a little bit of a shame that we'll never have pigs in this world. And here's our stupid map. I don't know if this is going to stay here forever, but I guess that it is for now. If you guys have watched this far into the video, then make sure you like and subscribe to the channel so that YouTube can suggest more content just like this to you. Thank you guys all so much for watching, and with that, I will see you in the next episode. Adios.